From Keene, the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, March 10th, 2017. Silver is trading at $16.93 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,198 per ounce. Bitcoin is trading at 1.5 cents, and the average price of Bitcoin is $1,248. Antiwar.com reports officials familiar with the situation say that the United States is deploying an additional 400 ground troops to Syria to fight against the Islamic State. The new figure includes the troops sent to Manbij and the artillery marines sent to Raqqa recently, as well as some other yet-to-be-deployed forces. All told, this will slightly more than double the number of U.S. troops in Syria as when President Trump took office. Estimates were of 300 or slightly more. The formal U.S. cap on troops in Syria is 503, which basic math will show they have since far exceeded. This is true in Iraq as well, where the Pentagon long deliberately lied about the official deployment to Iraq to stay under the cap by labeling thousands of troops as temporary but open-ended deployments. It does not appear that this is the total escalation proposed in the plan delivered by the Pentagon early last week, but may be the first stage. This also does not include the reserve deployment of over 1,000 troops to Kuwait, which could be accessed at will by the commanders in both Iraq and Syria for escalations. Details on the Pentagon's plan suggest that the goal is rapid progress against the Islamic State on the ground, particularly in Syria, though the rapidity appears purely optional since, particularly in the case of Iraq, officials say the deployments are basically permanent and the troops will stay long after the war is over anyhow. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. UPI reports the U.S. House passed a bill Thursday that will restrict the number and size of class action lawsuits, with one Democratic lawmaker accusing Republicans of giving the finger to Americans who have been injured by large corporations. The Fairness in Class Action Litigation Act passed the House 220 to 201. The legislation does not outlaw class action suits, but requires the trial judge to certify that each individual in the class of plaintiffs has suffered the same level of injury. Republicans argued that overly broad class action lawsuits allow trial lawyers to artificially increase the size of the class, allowing them to extort larger settlement offers and jury verdicts by making it appear that more people were affected than actually were. Representative Blake Farenthold of Texas said the purpose of a class action is to provide a fair means of evaluating similar meritorious claims, not to provide a way for lawyers to artificially inflate the size of a class to extort a larger settlement fee for themselves, siphoning money away from those actually injured and increasing prices for everyone. Democrats shot back that people injured by large corporations should be allowed to band together because forcing them to wage individual legal battles would give the advantage to corporations and their larger legal teams. When her plush and comfy life suddenly and unexpectedly fell apart, Brooke and her dog Cloud set out to defy the odds. If this is a man's world, as they say, living on the streets is no place for a young woman. One day she awoke in the redwood forest and realized she had become a hobo. How to Be a Hobo by Brooke Willett is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Reuters reports several states said on Thursday they would move forward with a legal challenge to a revised executive order by President Donald Trump this week that temporarily bars the admission of refugees and some travelers from a group of Muslim-majority countries. The new travel ban, which is set to take effect on March 16th, changed and replaced a more sweeping ban issued on January 27th that caused chaos and protest at airports. The first order was hit by more than 24 lawsuits, including a challenge brought by Washington State and joined by Minnesota. In response to Washington's suit, U.S. District Judge James Robart in Seattle ordered an emergency halt to the policy last month. That ruling was upheld by an appeals court in San Francisco. Washington State Attorney General Robert Ferguson said on Thursday he planned to ask Robart to confirm his ruling would also apply to Trump's revised order, which would halt it from being implemented. Ferguson told a news conference the new order harmed a smaller group of individuals, but that would not affect the state's ability to challenge it in court. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.